So I am beginning my 3-day hiking trip in the West Canada Lakes Wilderness. I'm here at the Pillsbury Mountain trailhead. There's a trail right here that goes about 1.6 miles to Pillsbury Mountain, but I'll be heading straight here on the French Louie trail to the Cedar Lakes trail, and then eventually to the Northville-Placid trail, and hopefully camping tonight someplace around the Cedar Lakes. Okay, so I have come about 1.6 miles from the trailhead. Here's a trail junction. Basically, if I go left, that is basically the French Louie trail. That's where I'm going to be finishing my hike by coming back that way. Straight ahead is the Cedar Lake trail that takes me to Cedar Lakes, where eventually I'll be looking for a campsite. So just came to this spot here where there is the remnants of a bridge, but not too much water, so no big deal. Yikes. I saw this part of the trail on a video that someone else had posted. Interesting. Alright, so I think I've come approximately 4 miles, just got to this lake where the trail kind of runs into this remnants of this dam here. So I believe that there's a series of lakes here known as the Cedar Lakes, so there should be 3 different shelters that I should pass by the next mile or two. The third one is the one where I'm hoping to camp at tonight. Alright, so I just turned left onto the Northville-Placid Trail. So it's kind of heading along this lake here. And so there should be some shelters coming up pretty soon. Alright, so I just had a snack break at this campsite here along the lake. Strange, I didn't know how crowded this area would be. And I haven't seen very many people at all. The only people I saw, though, were at the 2 shelters that I've passed so far. So I saw a group at each shelter, and then there are 2 other guys I saw right near the trailhead. Other than that, I haven't seen anyone. So I'm headed to the 3rd shelter that's on Cedar Lake. So I have a little bit more to hike on the Northville-Placid Trail, and there's a half-mile side trail that takes me there. And I'm hoping that that shelter is empty. Otherwise, I will look for a campsite nearby, or I can come back to this spot. So we will see. Alright, so I'm here at my campsite, my tent. So fortunately, the 3rd of the Cedar Lake shelters also had people in it. So I just kind of explored the area and I found a spot to set up my tent here. There's a fire pit. I gathered some firewood, and here's the lake here. So it's not a bad view. It's not a terrible sight. So I left my campsite a little while ago and passed by this spot here. According to the map, this is known as King Pond. So I've been hiking along the shore of this lake here. Hasn't really been an open spot where I could take a picture. Very marshy lake. So I believe this is Cat Lake. Not 100% sure about that. Alright, so I just got to this spot here. The Northville-Placid Trail turns left, which is where I'll be going. However, there's a trail to the right that leads to a lean-to on West Lake, so I'm going to go check that out. There's a lot of signs here. Alright, so I reached the West Lake lean-to that I was looking for. This spot right here is just like down the hill from it a little bit. It's the only really spot that I can get like to the shoreline of the lake. I'm gonna kind of retrace my steps back to that trail junction, and looks like there's another campsite that was on the lake too. I'm gonna check that out too. So this is one of the other shelters at West Canada Lake. First one I've come to that is empty. I'm just hanging out here for a little bit, gonna have a snack, maybe swim. Trying to dry some clothes that I washed last night. But it's a pretty good spot, right? The shelter's right on the lake. Alright, so now I've come to South Lake. So there's this little footbridge here. And there should be 2 shelters nearby, which I'll check out. Okay, so I just passed a shelter, another shelter, which I believe is the West Canada Creek shelter, and that maybe this is the West Canada Creek. Pretty nice. Okay, so now here, I just crossed over that bridge, and here looks like where I'm going to turn off the Northville-Placid Trail back onto the French Louie Trail and head to Samson Lake. According to this, it says I have 2.5 miles to go. Okay, so I've reached a side trail here to the Samson Lake lean-to, so I'm gonna go check that out. Hopefully this is where I'll be camping tonight. Alright, so this is the Samson Lake shelter. Right now there's no one here, so I might stay in the shelter. It's a really cool spot. It's on a hill overlooking Samson Lake. Over here, there's a really nice spot to get down to the lake. It's pretty cool here. Alright, so it's day 3 hiking on the French Louie Trail. Been hiking for about an hour and a half since I left my campsite this morning. I figured that it should be about 2.7 miles to someplace called Pillsbury Lake, which I'm going to take a break at. But there's also another lake I should pass called Whitney Lake, which I believe is down here. Can't really see that well. But there's also a trail that supposedly leads to that lake, which I may or may not take. So I'm at the Pillsbury Lake shelter, and this is Pillsbury Lake. The lake that I thought before might have been Whitney Lake was actually this lake that I was walking along. So I missed Whitney Lake altogether. But it's a nice shelter. Not as great of a spot as I was at last night. Lake's really like very swampy and marshy at the bottom, and not easy to get down to. All right, so I am basically at the end of the loop hike, so now I have about 1.5 miles to hike back to the parking lot.